Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, I mentioned in my last video that we would have some more pheasant hunting podcast, not podcast. I've been listening to too many podcasts apparently. It's more pheasant hunting content, training with Buck. We had a little bit of a plans change. Mr. Buck got really sick here, so he's all medicated up and hopefully he's going to be turning the corner. Now that I'm stuck inside watching him, which I should be doing as a good dog owner, I have some free time on my hands during the weekend. And what does that mean? Well, if you can't do something right now, you should be getting ready to do it later. Sounds like a really obvious concept, but what is it that we are going to be doing today? We are going to be tying a hopper fly that you can slide up and down your tippet. That means that you can move up and down the water column without having to retie or have a bunch of different hopper setups. That's very powerful. I should mention, this is not by design. This is a design that I found on YouTube from Fly All Season. It's got my little twist to it, and I'll go through my materials, but it is 99% the same. So I'm not the guy who came up with this, so I don't deserve any credit. I've made it, I've caught fish on it, so I said it is time to show you guys how to tie it. Don't worry, you're going to come in real close behind the camera, you're going to get up and personal with my digits here, and hopefully you guys get some really good clear ways on how I tie flies, and then in addition how to tie this fly. Alright, we'll get into it. Thank you very much for watching. Okay, so we are in close now, and hopefully you can hear me fairly well. We're going to go through our bill of materials. We are going to be using a gold thread for our one part of our body. We're using a 5mm tan foam. Not necessarily important for everybody, but some wool for a strike indicator so you can see it from a long way, and we'll use that as the wing. We're going to use some 8/0 check beads. Yes, 8/0 check beads. Let me give you a close-up of what those look like. They are tiny. We're going to be using 4 of them, and we're going to put 2 on front and 2 on back. That is what I've found to be the most efficient, and it keeps everything from sliding around. For our hook, I find 2 of them to work very, very well. If you want to go to a very high quality kind of bougie hook, very, very nice hook. Gamakatsu Trout Stinger, great hook. This has a horizontal eyelet and it's perfectly in line. That's a wide gap. Additionally, I've also found to work very well. Let's see if we can get. And a much more budget option, which I tend to like, is these mosquito hooks. They are also a size 8. They're not quite as wide of a gap, but they certainly do work, and I've tied them before. They're a horizontal, but they've got just a little bend up. For this one, we're going to tie a super nice fly, so we're going to use a super nice hook. So we're going to use the Gamakatsus, but I really do like those mosquito hooks as well. I think price difference, there are literally a 6-to-1 price difference. So I think this is $8 for 10 of them, and I think this is $63 for $8 or $9. Like I said, large price difference. So before you put your Gamakatsu hook on the clamp here, what you're going to do is you're going to put 4 little beads on him. So you can put them all on at the same time. I recommend you do that. And that will become what our tube sits on.
Yes, I can hear it, apparently. A lot of practice, which is alright. That's why we're tying in the middle of winter. So there's 3, and there's 4. Okay, so I got 4 on.
Go ahead and clamp. Now the thing about putting 4 on is you're going to notice that we don't have a whole lot of extra body room, and that's okay. What we want to do is maximize the efficiency that we have. And here we go. You start off, I always wrap to the front and then wrap back. Wrap a couple times, and you want your body to end here. Let me get my fat fingers out of the way. So when looking at these, you want that body to end before you get to the curve. You went a little far, and that's all right. You just undo a couple wraps. Make sure you got a nice firm wrap there on the front end, which now we do. So you can see that. So it's almost the same diameter as those beads, which if that's how you get a firm wrap, that's how you get a firm wrap. I undid my own work, so like I said, I'm a little out of practice. I'm doing a great job of covering everything up. There we go. Now my fingers are out of the way. Whoa. And now you can see where I start to make that back wrap for the back part of the body. And you want to get that wrap really tight and really close and build that up. Just like that. So what I do from here is I do actually loop back up and I tie a knot. This is just a cheap knot. It'll eventually be a square knot there. So, boop. There's one. There's two. I know that's not a typical knot tying, but that's how I've tied thousands of flies, and they seem to work all right. This is my tag end here as well. So I'm going to clip that and throw that aside. Now, this is the critical part, which is how big of a hopper do we want to make? This is dependent on where you are at. We usually don't get hoppers longer than 1 inch long. So, you know, if you put, this is about, I seem to have been making some bigger hoppers, and that's okay. I seem to want to have as much body out the back as the front, which for a size 8 hook is about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to hopefully not cover you guys up too much. Look at my body size and say there's as much front as there is back. Or make a slit. And then I'll show you guys again over here. And this is where some people go, wow, your hoppers are not very even. And I really don't think that they necessarily have to be, especially where I'm at. We do not see a whole lot of hopper action, and some of the best hopper days that I've had have been on hoppers that I've spent the least amount of time on. So figure that one out. It doesn't seem to track. You know, I make a hopper with a beautiful head section and tail section and everything above and below, you know, wings and all that stuff, and you know, the fish for whatever reason kind of reject me and I cry about it, and then I tie a hopper that's very simple and I catch a bunch of fish on it, and I'm like, well, that's a little weird. So what I just did there was make him a tri-body section. And this is where you can really clean up some of your mistakes, where you can say, okay, I want it to be a little more square-backed or whatever. I don't really, like I said before, I don't really spend too much time on that. What I want it to do is I want it to look very much as general of a shape as possible, because when you get into really specifics, it's a big meal, and to me it's the profile and the size more than, oh, it only has 4 legs or 2 legs or whatever. And if the fish are to the point where they're going up, I want a size 10 hopper instead of a size 8 hopper or vice versa, then I'm probably going to go home before then, because that's an incredible amount of technical fishing if you're to that point, where you're downsizing from one fly size to the next. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put on his wing here. So we'll get wrapped up to that. I probably didn't do a very nice job of showing that. But basically I took a bunch of of New Zealand indicator wool. We'll give them a little bit of front fro here. Here we go. Just like that. And this you don't have to add. This is just me so that you guys can see that, and then it does also make a little bit of a wing profile out the back. Anyway, without further ado, we'll go ahead and, like I said, we'll do a square knot again, and then I will show you how I glue it, which is also probably going to be infuriating to some of you, which is all right. I'm more of a this is an indicator that sometimes fish eat. I've tied on lots of dry flies, and I've only ever gotten a few eats, and that's even with fish hitting the water. So to me, this is much more important as an indicator to tell when I have bites, and especially in deeper water, than it is to a hopper. And if they want to come up and take the hopper, that's great too. So there we go. I'm going to go one more loop around there, and then we will cut him loose, literally and figuratively, and then I will show you a hopper that is on my rigging. All right, so from the bottom, this is what that hopper looks like. So you can see he's got a segmented body, and then he's got those beads, and then you can also see that wing profile out and around him. So that should work really well. Also, that wider gap in that hook is really nice, and you can get a lot of fish lip behind that. And there, as you can see, it's catching on my thumb really well. All right, let's show you. I was gonna say, gluing is really easy. I just glue all up and down here, and really make sure that those beads are secured in before I do anything with it. So be aware of that. So this is a typical hopper. How this works, and we're gonna focus right here on this point. So you can see that I've got very light tippet on my right hand, so it'll probably show up as your left hand, and then on my left hand I've got very heavy line. So this is 25-pound test line on this side and 3-pound test on this side. I've got them connected together with a tippet ring, and then how this works is there is a tube that slips just over those beads, and you feed it through the eyelet of the hook, and then the front tube here, and then through the back tube. And what that allows you to do, watch that tippet ring, is it allows you to slide that hopper up and down. So you can see I've got about 6 inches of 20-pound line there. So add 6 inches plus 14. So that's 20 inches down. And then I just pull on that hopper again, and we're back to 14 inches. And right there's my tippet ring. So that's how that works. As you can see, this fly has been beat up a little bit. That's because it got eaten by some trout. But once again, that's kind of my simple hopper there. And it seems to work well. And if the fish are in a biting mood, they definitely go after it. So one thing I may have forgotten is you want to use 2mm inside diameter silicone tubing. Get the clear variety. With that 8.0, it slides over perfectly, and it holds enough tension that if you get a fish on that hopper, when you set the hook, you'll get them. And I know this because I've been using, on almost all of my hopper dropper videos over the last year, this exact pattern right here. And if you go back and look, you're going to see it every single time. It's been a great hopper, and when the fish do bite on hoppers, this thing is fire. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thank you. Take care. And so I hope that you can hear my voice quite crisply, and we account that to this lavalier mic. Anyway, go ahead and like and subscribe if you want to hear
more of Sir David Attenborough narration styles. Thank you again. Take care, and pip pip cherry up until next time.